So welcome back. Now the lungs we have as humans known about for a very long time. In fact, the Egyptians around 3000 BC, when they were removing the organ from the bodies of the dead people that were important that they had to mummify, they actually recorded everything. And one of the things they recorded in the lungs was this one-liner that said, there are 4 vessels that go to the lungs. But they didn't really know how it worked and what it did. Now, thousands of years later, of course, we know it's much more complicated than that, and there's a lot of information out there about it. And today, we are going to take this information and make it very easy to understand. So, if you will, imagine the most perfect tree you can think of, a tree in the middle of nowhere, like that tree in the Shawshank Redemption, that movie, by the stone wall. The perfect trunk, the perfect branches, the perfect leaves, and at the very end, these perfect apples. And on this tree is covered by perfect birds that have 2 colors in them. Now that you have visualized this tree, rip this tree out, turn it upside down, make it red, make it squishy, and put it into your chest, and that's your lung. So just like a tree has a trunk that gives water to the rest of it, your lungs have a trachea, that pipe that brings air into the rest of it. Remember that trachea is right in front of the esophagus, but just right behind the heart. Just like a tree has many branches that get thinner and thinner, your lungs have bronchioles that are air tubes that get thinner and thinner. Just like a tree has round apples at the end, the most important part, your lungs have alveoli, which are round little sacs right at the end where gas exchange takes place. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Just like this tree has all these leaves in it, gives it a shape, your lungs have lung tissue that gives it its shape or its structure. Just like a tree can be covered with these pretty birds, your lungs are covered by what's called a pleura. And this pleura is a double lining. It's 2 layers. It's almost like a saran wrap type thing. And one layer sticks to the lungs and one layer sticks to the wall. And there's a little bit of water in between so that the lungs can kind of move in and out. To recap, remember, T for trachea, V for bronchioles, A for alveoli, P for pleura, and L for the lungs. Now the lungs are very squishy. They're almost like sponges. And what they will do is they will push air out and pull it in. The reason they do this is it's very important for the body to get oxygen in and to breathe carbon dioxide out. The lungs are part of the respiratory system. So just like all our blood goes to the kidney to get filtered for toxins and to maintain that homeostasis, so our blood also goes to the lungs and picks up oxygen, takes it to those little enzymes that have to use it up. Carbon dioxide is left over, is dumped back into the blood, taken back to the lungs, and then breathed out. This all happens in those little alveoli sacs that are very thin walled. They're like 1 cell thick. And what they do is they will take oxygen from the air, put it into the blood, and they will take carbon dioxide from the blood and put it back into the air to be breathed out. The lung breathes about 12 to 18 times a minute, but this really depends, remember, on that balance. So if the body senses that the oxygen or the carbon dioxide is too high or too low, the lungs can breathe faster or slower. They can breathe shallower or deeper. Anytime that the lung tissue or the lung itself is damaged is called pulmonary disease. Anytime this whole airflow tract is obstructed or hindered, it is called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD for short. Now, I want you guys to take a second to see what just happened here. We took something that was a new idea, compared it to something that we know very well, looked at it differently, broke it down into smaller pieces, and now we only had to memorize a few things, so now we get to understand the rest. is just like Paul Atreides and Dune, right? Where remember, he learned rapidly because his first training was in how to learn. Until next time.